Ted Naiman, type 2 diabetics. Eat and train like bodybuilders, and you easily become a bodybuilder. Dr. Ted Naiman.
Okay, so at the same time that your type 2 diabetic has maximized all the fat storage they can do and run out of fat storage, they also tend to have very low levels of muscle. Most of our type 2 diabetics end up having what we call sarcopenic obesity. Sarcopenia is a condition where you're under-muscled, you have too little skeletal muscle. And most type 2 diabetics have sarcopenic obesity, meaning they have very little lean mass and very high fat mass. And the way these type 2 diabetics have done this is because they've eaten not enough protein and far more non-protein energy like refined carbs and refined fats. And so they're partitioning all of their dietary intake into fat storage or energy storage rather than into lean mass. They're also not doing a ton of resistance exercise, so they're not giving their muscles a stimulus to grow. Instead, they might be sitting around, which is actually a stimulus for your muscles to atrophy. If you're not using your muscles, your body reabsorbs that. Okay, all right, so type 2 diabetics are anti-bodybuilders or reverse bodybuilders. Here's the reality, okay? This is reality. Everyone is a bodybuilder. You're a bodybuilder. I'm a bodybuilder. Everyone watching this video is a bodybuilder. You are a bodybuilder. You have built the body you're in with your diet and exercise choices. Everyone has done this. If you eat protein, you're literally prioritizing your lean mass. If you eat non-protein energy, you're literally prioritizing your fat mass. Every time you do maximum intensity exercise, you're stimulating muscular growth and building lean mass. Every time you choose to just sit on the couch and do nothing, then you're literally prioritizing your fat mass over your lean mass. So if you're a type 2 diabetic, what are you gonna do about it? First of all, you realize that you're a bodybuilder. Okay, I wake up in the morning, I'm a type 2 diabetic, but I'm going to be a competitive natural bodybuilder today. So what would I eat for breakfast? I would carefully craft an omelet with 2 eggs and 6 egg whites and some asparagus and some spinach, and I'd eat that for breakfast. And I'd have a little side of skinless chicken or salmon. And if I was a competitive bodybuilder, I would take a 0 carb, 0 fat protein shake with me in case I got hungry mid-morning, and I'd pack my lunch, and it would be a Tupperware of chicken breast and broccoli, and I would be maybe doing half an hour on the stair climber to get in my fasted cardio, and I'd block out an hour in the afternoon to go to the gym and lift heavy and do a heavy push or pull or leg day. And then every time I ate, I would be thinking, how can I get more protein and less energy? And every time I exercise, I would be thinking, how can I work out with the highest intensity possible to maximally stimulate lean muscle growth?
It's critical to notice what Dr. Naiman is saying. No calorie counting, no calorie restriction, no hunger. Instead, switch priorities in the food you eat to animal protein. Dr. Naiman also says, no long hours on the treadmill, no jogging, swimming, exhaustive cardio, no calculating calories burned. Instead, switch your priority to short, high-intensity work, weightlifting, sprints.
And you know what happens if you start making these choices? If you start choosing to prioritize protein over non-protein energy, if you start choosing to put maximum tension on all your muscles on a regular basis, what happens is you actually do turn into a bodybuilder. You slowly lose fat mass and you slowly gain lean mass, and eventually you end up where you want to be. And you know what this does to your type 2 diabetes? It completely destroys your type 2 diabetes. It's completely gone. I have patients doing this. They're not just in remission, where as long as they don't eat carbs, their blood sugar is pretty good. No, their diabetes is destroyed. If you can lose enough fat mass and gain enough lean mass, you completely regain metabolic flexibility. Now you can dispose of tons of glucose. Now you can dispose of tons of energy. If you just imagine you had an infinite amount of lean mass and muscle, you could dispose of so much glucose and triglycerides and energy that anything you did with your diet would be no problem. And that's really the holy grail of metabolic flexibility and insulin sensitivity. You want tons of room in your fat cells to store any incoming fat. You want tons of room in your muscle to store incoming glucose as glycogen. So you want lots of muscle, and you also want to deplete it regularly with high intensity exercise.
Annotated and summarized, easy to share with loved ones. The description below the title for this video has these summary points.
At the same time that a type 2 diabetic has maximized all the fat storage they can, very low level of muscle, most get sarcopenic obesity, which is too little skeletal muscle, very low lean mass, and a very high fat mass. They have eaten not enough protein. They have eaten far more non-protein energy, like refined carbs and refined fats, like vegetable oils. So they partition all their dietary intake into fat storage. They are not doing enough resistance exercise. They're not giving their muscles stimulus to grow. Sitting around giving muscles stimulus to atrophy. Type 2 diabetics are reverse bodybuilders. Here's the reality, says Dr. Naiman. Everyone is a bodybuilder. You have built the body you are in with your diet and exercise choices. If you eat protein, you are prioritizing lean mass. If you eat non-protein energy, you are prioritizing fat mass. Do intensity exercise, stimulate muscle growth. Sit on the couch, prioritize fat mass. What to do? Become a real bodybuilder. For breakfast, prioritize protein, especially animal protein. Have an omelet. Have cooked asparagus and spinach, chicken and salmon. Take a protein shake for a snack. For lunch, chicken and broccoli. Half hour on the stair climber for fasting cardio. Go to the gym in the afternoon. Lift heavy. Focus on push exercises for the chest or pull exercises for the back or leg exercises. For every meal, ask yourself, how can I get more protein, especially animal protein, which is much more complete than plant protein? And how can I get less energy every time you exercise? How can I get the highest intensity possible to stimulate muscle growth? It's critical to notice what Dr. Naiman is saying. No calorie counting, no calorie restriction, no hunger. Instead, switch priorities in the food you eat to animal protein. Dr. Naiman also says, no long hours on the treadmill, no jogging, swimming, exhaustive cardio, no calculating calories burned. Instead, switch your priority to short, high-intensity work, weightlifting, sprints. What happens when you prioritize protein over energy and put maximum tension on muscles regularly? He says you actually do turn into a bodybuilder. Slowly lose fat mass and gain lean mass. Eventually you end up where you want to be. Your type 2 diabetes, it is completely destroyed. It is completely gone. He has many actual patients in his clinic. He says, my patients are not just in remission, their diabetes is destroyed. If you can lose enough fat mass and gain enough lean mass, you completely regain metabolic flexibility. Now you can dispose of tons of glucose. Imagine if you had infinite amount of lean mass. You could dispose of so much glucose and triglycerides that anything you did with your diet would be no problem. Metabolic flexibility and insulin sensitivity gives you tons of room in your fat cells to store incoming fat. and tons of room in your muscles to store glucose as glycogen. You want lots of muscle and to deplete it regularly with high-intensity exercise.